So first of all, round of applause to Anirudh for coming up with an entire speech like on the get-go. I think that deserves a round. Other things I thought like generally interesting is that I actually found a lot of similarity between like your speech and the conflict monster speech, I believe, from last month. So I saw there are sort of like references or like similarity to that. So that's just a general comment. But how I want to structure my evaluation is to go through number one, 3 good things about Anirudh's speech that all of us can learn from, 2 things that he and I guess all of us can also improve on, and lastly a challenge for Anirudh for like future speeches. So number one, I'm going to talk about body contact and eye language. I think like the other evaluators have also mentioned things like body contact, eye language. I think Anirudh does that particularly well. I think number one, it helps because it's an impromptu speech, so he has nowhere to look, but all of us. But I also want to comment on why it's important as well. Because number one, body language is to engage. So that people feel that you're confident, they see your hand movements, rather than if you're just standing here and just reading from the podium, it sounds very boring. So this helps to engage the audience, but the eye contact is important to see who and how your audience is reacting. That's why often we recommend new members to like ditch the script. Because what's more important in the script is to see your audience reacting to you. But sometimes you tell a joke, there's laughter, but you want to see how their facial reactions change and all that. That's why eye contact is important. And Anirudh does a great job of that. Second thing that I think was important was, or that was good, was that there's a particularly meaningful story. I think it's important that we have meaningful things that are impactful. And I think of all things, he chose something that's very pertinent, very relevant to our current society and discussions. And I really enjoyed that about his speech. And the last thing I liked was that he attempted to give some kind of structure to his speech. And it's particularly difficult because it's an impromptu speech. But I think when you help to structure, you say, this is my first point, this is my second point, it makes it very easy for people to follow along when you have a message you want them to take note of. So those are the 3 good things that I thought is true. Body language, meaningful impact, and a structure. But 2 things to improve. Number one is maybe to give a summary, because along the way, Anirudh was telling us that, oh, there's his first point, there's his second point, then along the way we sort of lost the structure towards the end. So when you're trying to push a good, important message, tell me at the end just a recap of what are some of the things. So maybe some people can like scribble it down if they miss certain parts and all that. Because verbal communication is one of the hardest way to actually follow. Because when you write stuff down or when you're reading something, you can just reference back. But you can't get Anirudh to rewind himself in the middle of a speech. So that's one thing. Second thing that I think he can prove on is maybe give a slightly longer story. Stories are important because people can relate to them. They can feel it, they can see what's going on. I think Anirudh gave a brief story, but I think a slightly longer, more in-depth story as to conflicts that he sees, he experiences, where it made it easier to relate. Lastly, to challenge you is actually a challenge. To give people a challenge at the end of your speech. I think that's very useful. I've seen a lot of good speeches that end off with challenging the audience. I want you all to do this tomorrow, this week, in your year. And I hope that for you, your challenge is to have an explicit challenge at the end of your speech. Back to you, Toastmaster.